The day started with incredible great news as Steve Mnuchin had traction, momentum, as Democrats came out in favor of Steve Mnuchin's bill, like Andrew Yang saying Pelosi do the deal now. White House was supporting it. Democrats were supporting it. Moderates were supporting the 1.8 trillion. It was all great. And then, out of nowhere, came a blindsiding left hook. And who did it come from? And why is it so disconcerting? And why is it so troubling? The left hook came from Mitch McConnell. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LALATE with a continuation of Check that was minutes before that detailed the strange twists and turns about a new stimulus bill being introduced next week, which we ultimately say is great news. But now when you look at it, you're like, what the hell news is back on the front burner? Boy, I'll have a lot of details about that and hazard pay in this video, as always. It's a big development, so stay with me. Go to the front of this channel, subscribe. Thank you for bringing us to 290,000 subscribers. We made it. We made it. Amen. Next up is 300,000. Let's do it. Really stay with me because on this video, I'm going to go over more of what Mitch did today. After this is a continuation of McConnell versus Trump. Why there's a long-standing battleground between McConnell and Trump on stimulus, and why today it got even worse. And then after that, Pelosi versus Mnuchin. All right, let me get to the details, which I'll be going over in this video. First, I'll be going over the deal items. And ironically, now I'm doing deal items of Mnuchin versus McConnell. I mean, I can't even believe that I'm saying that, but that's where we are today. McConnell versus Mnuchin. I'll be going over checks. I'll be going over hazard pay. I'll be going over enhanced unemployment benefits. I'll be going over grants. I'll be going over all those details and why we're subtly perplexed about the strangest developments this afternoon. Then I will be going over what could happen next week and the timeline. All right, let me get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that out of nowhere, in a day in which there was incredible momentum in support of Steve Mnuchin, with Democrats coming out in favor of Steve Mnuchin's bill, and this is after Republicans reportedly were supporting it, came a statement from Mitch McConnell. I'm introducing a new stimulus bill next week. Oh, okay, really good. And I hope to have it as a first, it's going to be first priority, and we're going to put it up for a vote right away as soon as we reopen the Senate next week. Oh, that's very good. I guess people got to him and understood that you're dealing too much with the Supreme Court nominee. You got to do stimulus. Okay, that's really, really good. And then it's going to have some money for this and some money for that. Oh, really, really, really good. And then you heard the deal points. And then you heard the provisions. And then you heard what's really going to be in the bill. And then you're like, really? Really, Mitch? It's another one of those really Mitch moments again. Next week, Mitch McConnell will introduce a bill. It will be the top priority of the Senate, Republicans. It will be put for a vote. It will be exactly the same amount as his last bill that was rejected, $500 billion. It will encompass virtually every provision that he put forward before that failed. And it once again won't have stimulus checks in it. What's wrong with this man? What is wrong with him? I mean, you see this, and it sort of sounds like someone that's playing a cat and mouse game with you on purpose. For weeks and months, this man has said, oh, I hope Steve and Nancy do a deal. Oh, I hope they get along. Oh, I hope it's finished. This is really good. I support them. I hope they get to a finish line. Over the weekend, we heard that there was a bunch of Republican senators, those crazy ones that don't want to give you any money, that were reportedly saying something totally different behind closed doors. Well, now we realize that Mitch McConnell says one thing and then does something totally different. And next week, he does something totally different. He tries to derail the Pelosi-MNUCHIN negotiations of Pelosi going lower, MNUCHIN going higher. He's derailing the White House. He's going against Trump, and he's introducing a bill that has exactly what Trump doesn't want to do. Trump was furious and tweeted, "Go home, go big or go home," which is in response to Mitch McConnell. Go home, Mitch. Go home. Now, Mitch McConnell's doing this 24 hours after he appeared in a Kentucky Senate debate in which he was slammed for not getting stimulus relief and focusing more on a Supreme Court nominee. So ultimately, what's being introduced next week will fail. Ultimately, it will not get you stimulus relief. Ultimately, it'll be slammed by Republicans. It'll be slammed by Democrats. But the bigger issue that we sit here today that I am not happy with is that once again, this man is trying to impede negotiations between the White House and Nancy Pelosi on purpose. This is not an accident. He's doing exactly the opposite of what the White House wants to do. The White House is trying to get Republicans to go higher. Larry Kudlow was asked that question over the weekend. Why, do you have Republican support? Oh, yeah. There was a report on Friday, Lamar Alexander and Blackburn and Lee, and all these senators said, oh, we don't want big stimulus. We want really... And there was reports that there's 20 Republican senators who don't want to give you anything for stimulus. Zero. Well, as Mitch McConnell is under fire for not doing anything for stimulus, guess what he's going to do? Introduce the same bill he's introduced 3 times before that no one wants. Is there hazard pay in there? No. How much unemployment benefits? Probably $300 a week. So what is it in there? It's basically a nice, cushiony little thing for his rich, big business friends. And he doesn't understand why the Senate is potentially going to lose itself to a Democrat majority. He doesn't seem to grasp it. Now, as you sit here today, it's a day in which people need hazard pay. And Pelosi took it out. She took out hazard pay. MNUCHIN doesn't have it in his bill because it's not a Republican platform. Now, MNUCHIN does have in his bill some hazard pay-ish provisions. This is incredibly great news. And those hazard pay provisions are in the form of grants. This is also really great news. But with Mitch introducing a counter bill that is the other direction from which MNUCHIN is going, guess what's going to happen? All eyes are going to focus on MNUCHIN next week, and all eyes will focus on his failure. And imagine, we're 21 days from the election. Next week will be 14 days from the election. Imagine you're introducing a bill which is going to fail. How does that look? Is there any potential that Mitch McConnell's bill could pass? If he threw in the stuff that is supposed to be in there. Should you be on Twitter and be telling him, give us some stimulus checks? Absolutely. Should you be telling him to change his deal items? Absolutely. Should the White House be slamming Mitch McConnell for doing $500 billion and not going big? They already have. And this comes in news as why there needs to be more stimulus. 2 reports out minutes ago about Johnson & Johnson and Eli Lilly are not good. Johnson & Johnson paused its COVID-19 vaccine trials because of an unexplained illness in a study participant. That was last night and today. Then today, Eli Lilly stopped phase 3 trials of his ActV3 treatment for coronavirus because of potential safety concerns. Safety is one of our utmost importance for Lilly. We're now aware that of the abundance of caution, we need to recommend a pause on enrollment. The concern as we sit here today is when and where for stimulus relief. Let me give you the guidelines. First, under Pelosi's proposal for stimulus, you would effectively not receive any stimulus from Nancy Pelosi until March of next year. Yeah, March. I mean, it's crazy. What her hope is that there's a Democratic sweep. And with a Democratic sweep, the people would not come into office until January. If they started in January and passed stuff by February, you wouldn't get the money until March at best. Now, we understand how slow unemployment benefits take to get through states. Sometimes it's, 2 months or 3 months. Imagine. Now, Pelosi always talks about retroactive sometimes and also talks about one thing at a time and one thing at a time. But imagine being told, hey, I'm going to give you a stimulus check in March 2021 for that lockdown that you suffered in June 2020. Well, what happens if there's a lockdown next month in America? What happens if there's a lockdown in December? So she's still going to be giving you one stimulus check for what happened 7 months ago. That doesn't work. And then how about enhanced unemployment benefits? She's going to do retroactive to July of 2020. Oh, how about retroactive to September? She's going to do that from March. She's going to do retroactive 8 months. No, of course not. No, absolutely not. What she's trying to do is trying to give you as least stimulus as possible and give as much money as raises for federal employees and as much money to stay in a local. It's not fair. It absolutely is not fair. The focus absolutely needs to remain on executive orders because you see now that the Senate Republicans are really working against this president. They are feast or famine to get themselves reelected by acting like they're doing something for stimulus when they really are not. What they're doing is just doing a fake narrative to hope themselves get reelected. They're not here to help you. They're helping themselves get reelected. Let me answer some of your incredible 500 questions from yesterday. I'm really sick of our government, and we're the ones that pay them our taxes. Pay them, they'll probably sit at home and eat steak and lobster every day. Faith Love. Hazard pay needs to be directly deposited in our accounts. It shouldn't have to be up to the employer. Also should be done by executive order as is in the stimulus package. Hazard pay has always been an issue of contention with this channel. And the problem with hazard pay was that the Temple Dooms bill said that the employer may apply for hazard pay but does not, and if they don't, it's not their fault. It was a discretionary hazard pay bill, which no one really liked with that discretionary provision. Ultimately, I said, hey, let's push the problem, let's push the Romney plan. The Mitt Romney plan, which requires employers to get the hazard pay, requires you to have the hazard pay, and would ensure that you get the hazard pay. But nowhere along this discussion did anyone really focus on hazard pay. All they were focusing upon were things that had nothing to do with COVID-19. And ironically, in a bad testament to this American economy and this American society, the frontline workers who put their lives on the line and during this pandemic are getting the least stimulus relief of anyone involved. And the people who did the least amount of work during this stimulus package, during this COVID-19 pandemic, federal employees who work in government agencies, they're getting the most relief for agencies that do nothing about COVID-19. That shows you bad government at its worst. Terry Rose, purple anger, purple smash. Smash that like button. I love that, Terry. Andrew Schaefer, I wish we could decide how much we can pay the IRS like the politicians decide how much to pay us. I love that. Justin Spencer, I don't believe these crooks. Regina, I won't hold my breath. Hazard pay is... I've been hoping for hazard pay for a while. Bo Rounds, we all know the airline executives will misappropriate most of their stimulus and not call anyone back that they've been laid off or fired for. Ironically, I don't expect Mitch McConnell to have money in there for airlines. Everything that he's trying to pander to, he's trying to pander to no one except a big business. Sherry, I don't get it. If PPP still has unused funds from the last package, why do we need to give it more money? Amen. Amen. That's an incredible comment, Sherry. Mitch intends to give more money to PPP. There's $500 billion unaccounted for, unused from the last round of PPP. Why are you doing a $500 billion bill next week when there's $500 billion of unaccounted PPP sitting around? Samuel, joke of the day, Pelosi couldn't stay stable even with contractors level. I love that. Thank you, Samuel, for that joke. Tom Pickle, we all need to march on Washington. John DeLuna, are you still advocating to dump the president for $1,200 then Nancy wins? I'm not advocating anything. Big John, here's a thought. Help the people. We can afford a hotel room fly to go see our loved ones. Just a thought. Brandon Greco, it sucks that the people who lost their jobs with the airlines firing people, but now they're out of work for 2 weeks. Well, under Pelosi, you could be out of work all the way to March and not get enhanced unemployment benefits. Under Mitch, we'll see next week, but he wants to perhaps only give you $300 a week for enhanced unemployment benefits, when Secretary MNUCHIN wants to give you $400 a week. It's this type of real messiness that is not going to sit well. With the polls, with the election day, 21 days away, 3 weeks, you're wondering, why can the president, the Republicans of the Senate, and the Democrats not get anything together? They can't agree upon anything. It's times like this that you understand the importance of executive order. It's important to get it out. It's important to do it now because everyone is working behind the president. And that is what is coming up in McConnell versus Trump. Go to the front of this channel, subscribe, because I'm trying to make things easy for you. And I know they're complicated, and I'm here to guide you through this hot mess express. Also, like this video. As always, coming up next is McConnell versus Trump. Big developments. I will go through why McConnell has done this before to Trump, and why Trump should not have been surprised by today's developments. Then after that is Pelosi versus MNUCHIN. Is there a hope to get traction back with Pelosi and MNUCHIN after this morning was going really well, and then McConnell just sort of flipped it on its side? As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay LA for more.